Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, customer demands my personal cell number and blames me for him losing his job. My ex-sister-in-law from hell and her ill-mannered kids. Don't travel with a Karen. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Customer demands my personal cell number and blames me for him losing his job. I work as a claims adjuster for auto accidents. A customer filed a claim after hours, and I follow up with him first thing this morning. I have no info on the vehicle other than what he reported, and I inform him there is a possibility of it being a total loss. He immediately jumps down my throat and tells me he doesn't want his car to be a total loss, and he doesn't want me to have it moved to another location for an in-person inspection. I start to discuss an alternative with him when he starts cursing at me and berating me, constantly interrupting me, telling me to just pay the claim. If it were that easy of a job, I'd be paid less, and my job would be a hell of a lot easier. I explain that per his insurance agreement, we have to inspect the vehicle before I can make a payment for his claim, and we need to see if it is going to be a total loss or reparable. He continues to be a dumb, so I inform him that I will disconnect the call and try talking to him again when he has regained his composure. I hang up and go into a meeting, and he proceeds to call our customer service line over and over and over. He harassed a total of 4 women and refused to end the call until I accepted his call. I explained I was in a meeting and wouldn't be out for at least another 30 minutes or so. He continued to stay on the line with them for a few more minutes before hanging up and calling customer service again. I finally have a chance to call him back, and I explain that we can try to work with his shop and having them submit photos so we can do a preliminary check to at least see if the car is a total loss or not. He tells me he sent me photos from the night before. I explained that there were no attachments to the emails he sent me, and that we need very specific photos to have the most accurate review. He proceeds to tell me it is my job to call the shop and request them, which is what I told him at the start of the call anyway. He then demands my cell phone number. I explain that I don't have a work cell phone. He states he wants my cell phone to be able to reach me over the weekend. I informed him I will not be providing that info to him. He demanded it a few more times before stating he wanted to talk with my supervisor. I stated she was already informed of the situation and would be reaching out to him when she is able to. I am not allowed to give out her contact info. He tells me that I need to have her call him immediately. I remind him that she is my supervisor, and I cannot dictate her schedule. He proceeds to try to keep me on the phone until his demands are met. I inform him that I am going to disconnect the call if there is nothing further to discuss, and he ends the call. I called the shop, and they also gave me attitude stating that I was keeping a good man from his job and that I shouldn't be wasting his time like this. I asked if they could email the photos to me just so that I can get it done, and they say they will. I have an uncommon last name, so I made sure to spell it out for them multiple times since it is part of my email address. 2 hours before I leave for the day, I still don't have the photos. I text the customer and let him know, and he told me he would call them. 5 minutes before I'm supposed to leave, I call the shop again and don't get an answer or option to leave a message. I text the customer to let him know that photos aren't received yet, and we won't be able to move forward on his claim until Monday. He starts blaming me for working in a different time zone, stating it isn't fair that I work 3 hours ahead of him. I explained that I don't work 3 hours ahead of him, I'm just 1 hour ahead, and the shop had all day to send me the photos needed. He now states that since he doesn't have a rental, didn't purchase the coverage, he is going to be fired on Monday, and it's all my fault. I offer to set him up with a discounted rental, and he tells me he doesn't have a rental company in his area, but it's still my fault for him losing his job. Goodness gracious. I'm so sorry to hear that. You mean to tell me that your employer is so heartless as to fire you for missing a workday unexpectedly when it's your first occurrence/infraction with them? You may want to contact your state Department of Labor then. He tells me I should just pay the claim, and I'm holding up his claim for no reason to make life difficult for him. I wonder what he thinks happens to adjusters who don't follow due diligence on a claim and just pay it. We don't get cookies, that's for sure. In fact, we face termination with our employer, fines with the state the claim was handled in, and possible jail time. Oh yeah, and our employer can sue us for the money we paid to the customer without authorization, and if the customer knowingly cashes the check when they know their claim wasn't supposed to have been paid out, they get reported to the federal government for insurance fraud and sued by the insurance company for repayment of the claim. I guess I'll see what he has to say on Monday. My supervisor has been reading my notes and keeping up to date with the claim, and she is going to have a very fun conversation with him. Especially when all the calls exhibiting his bad behavior were recorded. ETA, this is a single vehicle accident where the customer hit a large object in the road that he absolutely should have seen. I won't state the specifics in case he's a Redditor. He did not file a police report, and he wanted to send me photos from the scene of the accident, which took place at night, and became more irate when I stated I need a VIN photo from the sticker inside his driver's side door. I'm betting the shop is actually one of this dude's buddies, rather than an actual shop. My thoughts precisely. I'm curious. Was he at fault for the accident? It was a single vehicle accident. He ran over something in the road. A big something that he should have been able to see. I'm a supervisor in my current field of work. People who are mad at my employees are always sweet as sugar to me until they find out that what my employee said to them was the truth. Then they ask for my supervisor and I say, "Oh, you don't want to talk to her?" LOL. Little do they know, she's not as nice as I am. I worked in healthcare claims and had a woman trying to get ABA claims covered when it was considered an experimental treatment for children with autism. She wanted thousands of dollars of claims reimbursed and the medical director requested medical records. She mailed me a box with 10 binders of notes from unlicensed people. One look and it all got denied. When I told her, she flipped her cookie on me and made me cry. When my supervisor saw my face, she took my phone and told her, "Listen ma'am, you need to be nice to her. She is the only person in this entire office who cares about your issue." She did not get reimbursed for her claims. My ex-sister-in-law from hell and her ill-mannered kids. Just a few days before Christmas, my husband's older brother's ex-wife called to say that they are in town from Texas and wanted her kids to see their cousins, my kids. We had been extremely busy and had many plans between my husband's aggressive chemotherapy treatments and life in general. But I told them that we have 2 hours in between our busy schedules. They came over and we welcomed them and were gracious hosts. The oldest son, Billy, asked about our Christmas lights. I told him that these are Govey lights and how it comes equipped with preset lights for every occasion/holiday, and I have been making my own patterns on it. He asked me to show it to him. Which I did, but then he asked if he can make some too. I told him no, because last time you had my phone you downloaded a few games and a couple of them had viruses which my cell phone carrier had put a stop to it. My husband and I have some properties and our property management company. I got a call and walked away to answer it. As I come back to where everyone was seated, Billy grabs the phone out of my hand and I asked him to give it back, but he held the phone away from me. I am 5 feet 7 inches tall and just under 130 pounds versus his 6 feet and over 260 pounds. My husband walked over and grabbed it just as rudely and told him never to grab things out of people's hands. Well, the mother Barb didn't like that. She has said this many times that we don't like to say no to our kids because there are too many no's in the world. Meanwhile, Billy is throwing a temper tantrums while Nick, the 2ND born, couldn't keep his hands off the candy jar. I got this candy jar that is like a tree with 5 glass jars. I fill it up with colorful candies. I had sealed it so we don't have a temptation to have some. There was some leftovers that I gave them. They grabbed handfuls and stuffed their pockets with it, so I don't know why he wanted more. Anyway, the candy jars come crashing down and there is glass everywhere. My husband cleaned it all up and I very calmly told Barb that she owes me $300. She was shocked that I asked. Because old me would have just gotten over it. But prior to all this, I had gone out and bought Nike brand t-shirts for the two older ones and toys for the younger ones. They opened up the gifts and Nick and Billy both said, "Is this all we are getting?" So after the Candy Crush collision, I went off on them. Beginning with, "What did you get for my kids? A couple of small card games? Did we say anything about it? My kids thanked you and went about to play. They left in a huff because I reminded them that we have prior commitments, hopefully never to see them again. Barb left my husband's husband after she lost 80 pounds. My brother-in-law is now deceased. So done with selfish people. Ugh. I would never have them as guests in your home ever again. And seriously, that's her parenting method? To never say the word no to her kids? Hope she enjoys visiting them in prison someday. Ugh. I would never have them as guests in your home ever again. And seriously, that's her parenting method? To never say the word no to her kids? Hope she enjoys visiting them in prison someday. She's always had that attitude, and I forgot to mention that Billy's 16 and Nick is 15. They are not welcome in our house anymore. I am confused why you even had them over in the first place, but at least they will never be allowed back. We don't like to say no to our kids. That's okay. But they're your kids, not mine, and I will say no to them. Don't travel with a Karen. This happened 5 years ago. My friend from college, Gia, got engaged and was getting married in Puerto Rico. She invited me and my other two college friends, let's call them Amy and Sherry. When they got engaged, Sherry went on a tangent about how he was a terrible guy, not good enough for Gia, and decided she wasn't coming to the wedding and told Gia so. It was a bad fallout. FYI, he's terrific. She was jealous and other things, not pertinent to the story. So Amy and I decided to travel without her and make a whole vacation of it. We decided we wanted a relaxing vacation with an upscale hotel, daily visits to beaches, and must have good food and piña coladas in our hands at all time. Sherry and Gia had made up after a long talk, and Sherry wanted to join us. In fact, she wanted to derail our entire trip. Sherry didn't want the same vacation as Amy and I. She wanted a cheap Airbnb, adventurous excursions, and was on a tight budget. I had just recovered from a terrible injury and was extremely limited with my mobility, and couldn't hike/be on my feet for long periods of time. We tried compromising with hotels and activities, but she refused. So we decided that Amy and I would book the hotel we wanted, and she got a disgusting Airbnb down the street. I put my card down for everything with the agreement they'd Venmo me later. Big mistake. I paid for the rental car in San Juan, but Sherry needed it more than us so she could do her activities. Fine, just drop us off at the beach. She left us stranded for hours. When she got us, she wanted to smoke pot in the car. I'm like, no. You're driving and it's under my name. I'm not getting penalized. She started getting passive-aggressive with me and Amy. We went to see some caves one day, an activity we compromised on that I was physically capable of doing. I was driving and she was giving me directions. She kept missing to tell me when to exit. She was stoned, and she snapped at me calling me stupid and that I was doing it on purpose. I saw red, and told her to shut or give me directions properly. She said I wasn't allowed to talk to her like that, and I said now you know how it feels. Awkward the rest of the trip. When we fly to our next location, the wedding destination, she's become so much worse. I once again pay for the golf cart we rented for the tiny island, highly recommend. First night there she's being a brat, so Amy and I escape to get food and bring it back. I called Sherry saying I found a bodega across from the restaurant and asked what she wanted for our house stay. When I brought everything back, she said I forgot items and started in on me with "Where's the cheese? What am I gonna eat my eggs with? Where's the Coke? What am I gonna drink my rum with?" I had it and point blank asked what I did to receive such a negative attitude. She passively aggressively played dumb. Then after pushing her for answers, she started calling me names and belittling me, so I walked out. We ended up not talking the rest of the trip, and I upgraded my flight so I didn't have to sit with her. When it was time to pay me back, she pulled this shit. Me, you owe me $75 for the golf cart. Sherry, well, you owe me for gas, so really I owe you $50. Me, not wanting to argue, fine. Sherry, but since I purposefully tried to not travel in the golf cart to avoid you for being AB*TCH, I should only pay you $25. Mind you, she was in it every day. Me, keep your money, you, many choice words followed. She blocked me, so I lost it, emailed her more choice words, told her we're never going to be friends again, and that nobody wanted her at the wedding, especially the mother of the bride and the groom in the first place. Amy and Gia cut ties with her and none of us have spoken to her since. I may have lost a friend, but the silver lining here is that I met my now husband at the wedding. Lost a shitty person and gained an amazing person. And you had two good friends who didn't put up with you being treated poorly. You did not lose a friend. You excised an ungrateful leech. Well done. She wasn't a friend to you, she was an entitled parasite. I also went to a destination wedding for a HS friend, but like you, after the trip I cut ties with people because of how toxic they are, and I honestly only put up with it before an HS, so seeing it on another level and being stuck with it for a week was actually the push I needed. Even though it made some of the trip just crappy, it was worth it in the end. To not have to actually deal with them anymore makes it a 1000x worth it. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.